Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the February 2023 book, Winston Chu vs. the Whimsies from Stacey Lee. This is another addition to our Rick Riordan Presents books. The benefit of these books, the benefit of the Rick Riordan Presents books is that, and the goal of this was to get authors from different cultures, different backgrounds, a chance to tell their cultural stories and throw the modern spin on it, kind of a thing. So this particular one, Winston Chu is Chinese. He is living in San Francisco. I'm going to put the book down with his mom, his older sister Philippa, and their younger sister Coco. And so their father had passed away in a friendly fire incident in Iraq. So then Philippa has dog tags. Winston has dog tags. The younger sister Coco loves the book Tales from the Middle Kingdom, and that Philippa, reads to her ever so often before bedtime. Coco's 3 years old. And so one of the main stories that Coco loves is about the Cloud Weaver and her husband, the cow herder. And the Cloud Weaver is a goddess, and her mother is very against her marrying a mortal, and the only time that they can see each other is when a bridge is wove together, a rainbow bridge is wove together via magpies and stuff like that, right? So we have different tales, different lore, different mythology in regards to this goddess and her mortal husband, and who then became immortal. But then stuff. So why are they interacting with a 12-year-old and his friends in modern day San Francisco? So it's just very on point with the Rick Riordan Presents books. How do you take the mythology of a certain culture, mix it with a modern kid, middle school kid, teenage kid? Because some of the Rick Riordan books are middle school, but then also high school age kids. So it depends on the story. This was so well done, and I'm so impressed because I didn't expect a twist at the end. I just expected, okay, well, there's these things happening, and Coco's missing, and her soul was taken by Mr. Pang, who is this, magician guy who has these whimsies, and he creates these whimsies via different key, Q-I, key, I think that's how you pronounce it, represented as energy. So then, certain things have certain energy value to it, and you can take the energy and transfer it into make something different, make a whimsy that has special properties. So they go to Mr. Pang's shop, inadvertently on accident, because a pie has been, thrown. And so what happens when you get a dustpan and a broom back to your house that happens to have the energy aspect of the Cloud Weaver goddess and her husband, the cow herder, and then they inadvertently sweep up Coco's soul, which creates then, the dustpan creates a portal back to Mr. Pang's, and there's Changeling, a doll, who is then now inhabiting the soul of Coco, but then Changeling is now in the body of Coco, who this reference is not Coco. So it's a rescue mission of how do you get my sister's soul, Winston speaking, how do you get my sister's soul out of a doll back into her body and switch it back? And it's a whole other thing. Who is Mr. Pang? Why is he conquested now to harness the energy of the moon on the full moon when there's a werebear attacking, when there's all these other items in his store attacking? Why is his store only accessible via mirror dimension? It's just so wild and so fever dream, my kind of book, because there's twists and turns that I didn't expect, and especially at the end of who is Mr. Pang's brother and why are they now fighting each other to then not have to go back to the heavens. Bro, it was so wild. It was so wild. Flying piñatas at the end, unicorn piñatas that they all had to ride. Winston's fish Lucky appearing at the end as a gigantic whale fish. It was just wild. It was absolutely wild because it was so fun. They had heartfelt moments, and some of the dialogue where I was just like, because Philippa, Winston are of conscious age to Philippa's 19, Winston is 12, Coco is 3. That was the age difference of all of them. And so they're dealing with the death of their father, who was killed in a friendly fire accident in Iraq. He was a translator, and one of his friends, Vic, misread a situation, and there was an open fire incident. And their dad got caught in the crosshairs. So then how do you face that man And the first thing out of Philippa's mouth was, I want to know how you killed our father. And I'm just like, bro, what am I reading right now? I did not expect such blatant, let's get to the point, let's not sugarcoat it. What was your involvement in my father's death in Iraq? It was so wild. It was so wild because of the magical whimsy aspect to it, yes, and a fantastical aspect, but it was so grounded because these kids wanted to know what's going on. How do I help my sister? How did my father actually die? How do I deal with this trauma to somehow bring some kind of closure and move on as a family unit? It was just so grounded in a fantastical manner, and I don't know how else to explain how incredible this is, and especially how incredible Stacy is as a writer, because she paints imagery that it's very hard to do, especially when you're dealing with these middle school kids, these eighth graders who are just running about. You got Winston, his best friend Maverick, Mav's older brother Monroe, who likes Philippa. Then you got Bajal, Bijal, Bajal, I think that's how they pronounce it. And then Casa. So you have different cultured kids, kids from different cultures. That's the term I was trying to get to. Kids from different cultures represented throughout this little group of individuals. Then you also have Danny, who Winston kind of likes, and her aunt, Chef Kim, is one of their teachers at a culinary school. But then also, like, where did she get the umbrella that Danny has? And why is that magical? And why is her beans for baking magical things? Bro, it was wild. The last few chapters were just wild because I didn't expect so many more twists and turns. But it was so grounded. It was so important because not a lot of books discuss trauma and acknowledging that something happened and now you're in the present and then what happens next. Not a lot of books do that, and it's very important to see that, especially from a middle school perspective, if you will, of these particular characters, because it shows of I might be feeling this way and somebody else could be feeling this way, and it's okay to talk about that, because how else are we going to deal with things? How else are we going to process? How else are we going to try to move forward the best that we can if we don't discuss it? And this is a big discussion book, and it's very important to see that because it's not represented a lot. You have a lot of different, there's a lot of adult fiction books in regards to traumatic events and things of that nature, but I feel like it's expected as an adult and it's not expected as a kid. And when you have kids openly discussing stuff, very important to see, because it then can give the leeway and the door opening, or the window opening, if you will, to other individuals reading this, whether they be the 12-year-olds a la the same age as Winston Chu in this book, or whether they be someone in their 30s. I, as a 34-year-old, see this and from a different perspective and say, well, I can discuss certain things in a manner because I'm seeing it being discussed as certain things in a manner. That's what's beneficial about these books, and that's why I absolutely love this imprint of Hyperion books, Disney Hyperion, in regards to Rick Riordan Presents. I love learning, and to learn different cultures, different mythology from different perspectives, from different authors. It doesn't really matter the age range of the kid or the main character, if you will, because these particular books, the Rick Riordan Presents books, have middle school and high school individuals dealing with stuff, whether it be end of the world stuff, whether it be grounded reality, this is what's going on in my family stuff, whether it be about magic, whether it be about gods and goddesses, whether it being about an apocalypse. It doesn't matter. It's just very interesting seeing this from a different perspective, because each author has their own take on certain stories and certain properties of certain cultures. So I like learning about these things through the fun, adventurous escapades of these particular teenage-ish individuals, if you will. The young adult genre is my favorite genre because it gives you that perspective of what's happening in the world right now from the eyes of an individual, of a young adult, but it also brings apart a means of learning that's not being lectured to. I hate being lectured. And so when I can learn something from a book, whether it be a cultural aspect or reality aspect, and I'm not being lectured to, that's why I love this young adult genre of books, because I don't feel lectured. I feel like I'm given an opportunity to learn and to question. It's like, oh, okay, well, what is this? Key, for instance, right? The energy that's discussed within Feng Shui, within regards to this particular Chinese cultural description of what's going on with Winston Chu and his family. Which then explains it at one point. He's like, yeah, it's like the Force. You know, we've all seen Star Wars. And it's just, it's such a simple explanation of comparison to something that everybody is familiar with. And that's learning. That's the benefit of how these books are presented, is that it's just given to you in comparison. It's like, you know this. This is how it is. Not a full 10-page doctorate dissertation in regards to the importance and the origin and all of these things. I don't need a lecture. And that's what I love about these books, is that they don't lecture. They teach you in a familiarity mindset. And I love it. I love it. I will never stop loving it. This is an incredible book. Stacey did an incredible job with how the story was presented, how the characters interact with San Francisco in general. I should have worn my San Francisco hat. I didn't even think of it. I am wearing San Jose stuff, actually. San Jose Sharks, which is a hockey team, which is kind of near San Francisco. So we're in theme. Sure. Can't wait to read the next book. I have my list of other Rick Riordan Presents books. We're chopping down our list of things. Winston Chu versus the Whimsies. Absolutely incredible. Fever dream fun of a book. On to the next review. Which mahalo.